Got AWOL's Guidebook here. This is the one I recommend. I'm going to go through it and see if I can give you some tips on businesses and hostels and things I can remember. First thing I want to say is, unless you want to use this as a souvenir, some people write in these, they make notes and they save it as a souvenir. I understand carrying the whole book. But if you're not, do not carry the whole book. Why do you want pages from Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine when you're down in Georgia and North Carolina? I usually will cut the book up in about 5 sections and just mail drop the other sections as you need them. Now, I also have the PDF for this, and I have Guidebook, but I want a hard copy. And what I normally do is the page I'm hiking on at that time, I'll keep in my hip belt pocket so I can refer to it. It's nice to have the backup though on the smartphone, but get a guidebook and don't cheap out by using your brother's 10-year-old guidebook. The trail changes every year. It's less than $20, and if you can't afford a guidebook, maybe you need to rethink about doing your through hike. Well, enough of that. Let's get going here. I'll make edits while I'm looking at stuff to talk about. Let's get to Amicalola. When you get to Amicalola, you can take the approach trail. Everybody makes a big deal about the approach trail. It is not a big deal. It's one of the easiest ups on the trail. It gets a bad rep because you get a bunch of people out there who don't know what they're doing. Their first day, their pack's too heavy, they're out of shape, and yeah, it seems hard. There's also a road that'll take you up close to the start of the Appalachian Trail at Springer Mountain, but make sure the person knows how to get there and make sure it's a vehicle capable of going on. It's just a dirt fire road. So I say take the approach trail. If you're going to worry about doing 8 extra miles when you're planning on hiking 2,200 miles, again, you need to rethink that. And they do have a shelter there. Usually the past years when I get there, I get in late at night and there's a shelter you can sleep in and then start in the morning. Mountain crossings. Neal's Gap has got like 3 names. Neal Gap, Walasiyi, which I think is Indian for big frog or big toad, and mountain crossings. They have a bunk room there. They have outfitters. I always send a mail drop there. It's the first mail drop I always send. It just makes sense because it's a real hassle to go anywhere else from there. And they have stuff to resupply there, but keep in mind now, they do a lot of tourist business there, so the prices are a little high. But basically they have everything you could want there. But send a mail drop, definitely. And of course with the guidebook, all the information about the addresses and how to label your boxes are all here in the guidebook. Alright, the next town would be Hiawassee. Oh, let me just say, before you get to Neal's Gap, don't plan on staying at Blood Mountain Shelter. It's not like the other shelters. It's made out of stone. There's a doorway with no door. There's windows with no windows in it. It's up on top of Blood Mountain. And even in summer, I've always heard it gets bad weather, it gets windy. Don't plan on making that a stop. I ain't going to go through every shelter, can't remember them all. But yeah, you don't want to stay at Blood Mountain. Hiawassee would be your next town. Now, I always used to stay at the Blueberry Patch, but they'd been doing it for years and they retired, and then Top of Georgia opened up. They were glad Top of Georgia opened up. I liked it. I stayed there last year, and basically, if I got the story right from Sir Pax-a-Lot, some dude with a lot of money that likes to hunt, big game hunting and all that, kind of built him a lodge and man cave there. And then when Sir Pax-a-Lot got a hold of it, they turned it into a hiker hostel. So it's really nice. I recommend it. You can go into town. Ron Haven has a motel in there. You can do either, but I like Top of Georgia. And they have a shuttle. They'll run you in to Hiawassee to resupply. Franklin. I always stay at Ron Haven's Budget Inn, if I stay in Franklin. Sometimes I'll just resupply and go back out. Ron has a good deal over there. It's not a 5-star hotel. It's a motel with hiker rates, and he doesn't mind if you double up and that kind of thing. Even opened across the street a small hostel, which that's where I stayed. It's a good deal, and there's a shuttle. He'll take you around. He has an outfitters there too, and they'll take you to get resupply. Nantahala Outdoor Center. The trail goes right through the place. It's a whitewater rafting place. They have an outfitters, a restaurant. You can send a mail drop there, which I highly recommend sending a mail drop to the NOC. The closest town is Bryson City, and it's not an easy hitch. Send you a mail drop there. The NOC. It's a cool place there. Oh, and the pizza. The thing to do there is you buy 2 pizzas, you eat one there, you pack the other one up, and you eat it that night on the trail. Little Red Bull there. That's the thing I miss the most on the trail, is Red Bull. Alright, I've never been into Robbinsville. Next stop for me is Fontana Dam. Got one of the best shelters there, the Fontana Hilton. It actually has a view of the lake and the mountains, and it's spacious. It's a great place to stay. And then you can get a shuttle into Fontana Village. There's a laundromat there. There's a small convenience store, but this is like a tourist summer camp kind of area. Send a mail drop there. They have a post office. Definitely want one at Fontana Dam. From Fontana Dam, you go into the Smokies. Always, Smokies, you're only allowed to camp at shelters. You're not allowed to camp anywhere else, and you got to get that dam permit. You get that online. Information's in here, or Google it. Thru hiker permit for the Smokies. I only started that 2 years ago. But I would always start out, rest overnight at Fontana Dam and start out in the morning for the Smokies, because I think the first shelter is like 10 miles, and it is uphill most of the way. But once you get up there to the first shelter, it mainly stays up at the elevation. So the Smokies doesn't have a lot of big ups and downs. For me, Gatlinburg is my next stop. That's about halfway through the Smokies. Oh, Gatlinburg. If you haven't been to Gatlinburg, especially if you go in March and April, yeah, Gatlinburg's a trip. And the only place to stay in Gatlinburg, unless you got a lot of money, is the Grand Prix Motel. We make sure they're still listed. Yeah, the Grand Prix. They have hiker rates. They don't care if you double up and all that. I mean, I think it was $45 last year. I shared it with another hiker. That's a hell of a rate for Gatlinburg, believe me. Next stop is Standing Bear Farm. Let me get him here. Standing Bear. Standing Bear is like 2 or 3 miles after you leave the Smokies, and it's a cool place. It's on a dirt road. It's quiet. It's rustic. They've been building on it, and I have heard on Facebook the Baltimore Jack is there. I hope that he's going to work there through the thru hiker season. You get a chance. You'll meet Baltimore Jack one way or another on the trail. He is a true living legend, and you don't believe me, just Google Baltimore Jack and see what comes up. Next will be Hot Springs. Oh, the other thing about Standing Bear, they have a small room with hiker resupply food stuff in there, and it's enough. Hot Springs is like a day and a half from Standing Bear, so it's easy to get enough resupply to get on into Hot Springs. I always stay at the Laughing Heart Hostel. It's a good hostel. They got tent space. Usually for me, when I do hostels, I'll always tent. Bunk rooms, especially that time of the year, a lot of people have colds and flus and just don't want to be around all that. So far, I have never been sick on the trail, and I don't want to experience that. Also in Hot Springs is Smoky Mountain Diner. Highly recommend the Smoky Mountain Diner. It's owned by an ex-thru hiker. I forget their name, but it's a really good deal, really good food. And for people who, like my friend last year, Tracy Bell Gardner, otherwise known as Evergreen, she is a vegan. She would love Elmer's. If you're a vegetarian, you like that kind of stuff, Elmer's is legendary. I personally have never been there. I like meat, so what can I say? But if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, definitely Elmer's is your place. Well, we're up to Irwin. When you come down the mountain and coming into Irwin, there's some great views of the Nolichucky River. You come in and the first thing you're going to see is Uncle Johnny's hostel. I've stayed there a few times. Never in the bunk room. Always I try to tent. And they have shuttles running into town. Let me see. Round Mountain. The Mountain Harbor. Bed and breakfast and hiker hostel. It's a good place to stay. You can tent. The hostel part itself, I think, only has maybe 4 single beds and a double, but it's a cool place to stay. They'll run you into town. There's a barbecue place, Subway. You can resupply there, and then they have this breakfast the next morning. Let me see what they're charging for that now. Tenting, shower. The breakfast is $12, but I've never heard anybody complain about spending $12 for that breakfast. It's a buffet style, basically all you can eat, really good breakfast. And by that part of the trail, your appetite will be kicking in, believe me. Okay. Next you'll come up, before you hit Hampton, you can go to King Cora, which is the famous hostel owned by Bob Peoples. Bob Peoples is another living legend on the trail. Google Bob Peoples. And then they got that Black Bear Resort. They're both close to the trail. Black Bear is more expensive, got a little bit more to offer, but King Cora is legendary. Okay, where are we at? Hampton. Brown's Grocery is about it. And if you can get a ride, there's a Subway McDonald's for about 3-4 miles on down the highway. But you can get enough resupply at Brown's Grocery. Next comes Shady Valley. Shady Valley is famous for one thing. That's where the pre-Trail Days Riff Raff Party is held every year. You can't miss it. It's held on the only wheelchair accessible part of the trail I know of. For half a mile, it's wheelchair accessible. Riff Raff has it there every year. Riff Raff is a Appalachian Trail club, and they have a cool party there every year. It starts, I don't know, sometimes I've heard it starts on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but I'm sure it's going by Tuesday. And then Trail Days, everybody heads into there Thursday afternoon. Or if you're one of the really, really cool kids, there's Camp Wonderland. That's held in another location, and that's kind of an invite thing. You see me on the trail, ask me about it. And if you're one of the cool kids, Camp Wonderland pre-Trail Days party is very cool. It's actually, I took video last year. God, here I'll bring it up again. I'm so sorry about that fucking 2015. All that video I took is out of focus. You don't know how bad I wanted to delete that off freaking YouTube, but people keep watching it, and overall I get good comments, so I'm leaving it up there. But yeah, I had video from Camp Wonderland last year. Alright, next is Damascus. If you started around the end of March or the beginning of April, you're probably going to be able to hike right into the Trail Days, and if not, a lot of people will be before it or after it. There's rides, there's shuttles going back to Trail Days. You don't want to miss Trail Days. One of the common questions when you run into another hiker, you'll go, where are you at? And they might say, well, I'm in Harrisburg, or I'm in Northern Virginia, or I'm in Tennessee. For me, it's always, I'm right here. Wherever I'm at is right where I am on the trail. Trail Days. One of the biggest backpacking events in the country. It's got something for everybody. If you're not into the partying, you're a more serious hiker, there's talks, book signings, people showing their documentaries. If you like to party, there's plenty of that too. Just be smart and cool when you're at Trail Days. You got to imagine it like you're going to a state fair. Are you going to be drinking alcohol in public and doing safety meetings in public? No, you will not. The cops will bust you. Same at Trail Days. Just be cool. They have extra police there because Damascus is normally a town of 1,000 people, and sometimes it gets up to 10,000 people there on the weekend for Trail Days. All right, and Tent City. Stay at Tent City. Tent City is where it's at. And if you want to find me when you get to Tent City, I think you got to pay $5 or $10 for the weekend. And when you go in, if you stay to the right, that's where all the party is. Stay to the left if you want quieter. Go all the way back past the big bonfire. Kind of go left till you see the river there, and Camp Wonderland is right around there at Trail Days. That's where I should be. Damascus itself, if you're not there for Trail Days, the Woodchuck Hostel is the place to stay. It's one of the best hostels on the trail. Chuck Thru hiked, I think, in 2013, and he's gone all out. He's always adding on. Put in a real life-size teepee last year. And let's see, the other place, if you want a room you can lock, then go to Dave's Place. Usually has 2 bunks, and you get a key and you can lock the door. Dave's Place is cool. The Hiker Inn is good too. They got Food City there. Resupply is really easy there. And one of the best outfitters on the trail is Mount Rogers Outfitters. They will have what you need, and they don't... What is that blinking? Oh, battery's getting low. They don't do tourist crap. They don't rent bikes. They don't do freaking canoe trips. They only do hiking and backpacking. Best outfitters on the trail. Everybody that works there knows what they're doing. Definitely. Tell Jeff Patrick 7 said hey when you go there. And Sundog Outfitters, they're not a bad outfitters, but they're really more into the bicycle rental thing. The Virginia Creeper Trail is there, and it's a very popular bicycle trail. You'll see Damascus has about 10 places to rent bikes. But Sundog isn't too bad either. Let's see. Normally Troutdale would be my next main stop for resupply. Unfortunately, let me make sure it hasn't opened back up again. No. There's a hostel there. Nice little hostel up on top of this really big hill, great view. They have a hot shower there, electricity, no laundry though. But the bad thing about Troutdale is the restaurant and the small convenience store closed up. I think it's been 2 years now. So you can't get any town food there. And it's like, God, I'm in town. Well, it's really not even a town, it's a crossroad, but you can't buy any town food. So you could send a mail drop there. It's about 3 miles off the trail. Usually you can hitch in, it's not too hard. But anymore for me, I will just push on till I get to Partnership Shelter and hitch down to Marion, where Marion has Walmart and Food City and all that kind of crap. Partnership Shelter is cool. They have a shower. It's kind of a sun shower. If you get there early on a hot day, the water might be warm, but it's still nice. And it's right next to the Mount Rogers National Recreation Center headquarters or something. So it's only like maybe 100 yards from the road. You can order pizza, have pizza delivered there. It's a nice shelter. The only thing I don't like is they don't allow tenting there. I really don't like sleeping in shelters. Alright, the camera battery died. It's about 4 days later, and the weather is not as nice in Florida today. Alright, Pearisburg. Pearisburg's a great town. Let me get to Pearisburg. Well, actually, Trent's is before Pearisburg. I was thinking it was after. Trent's at Virginia at mile 608. It's like 4/10 of a mile off the trail. It's a small store and a camp area. It's kind of a hunting places for hunters to stay. It is not the Ritz or anything like that, but I love Trent's. You get a good greasy burger there. You can shower and do laundry for like $5, I think. Love Trent's. I wish there was more places like Trent's on there. And then after Trent's, load up on supplies. It's about maybe 2-3 miles, trail miles, to Dismal Falls. It's a great place to hang out for the night. It's kind of very small waterfalls, but there's levels, and you can, like, if it's warm out, you can just kind of take a bath. It's a pretty cool place to camp, Dismal Falls. Alright, Parisburg. I usually always stay at the Catholic hostel in Parisburg. Unless I got money, then I'll stay at the Holiday Inn Motor Lodge. It's one of the last motels on the trail that is still reasonably priced. I think $50 you can get a room for a couple people. After that, the motels just start going up and up until I think they're unaffordable. I ain't paying $100 to spend a night in a motel room when I got a good tent. But Parisburg, they've got, if you stay at the Catholic hostel, a couple years ago they built a hospital right behind the hostel, and if you go through the parking lot of the hospital to the sidewalk, it's like 4/10 of a mile sidewalk walking down to the Walmart. And at the hostel they have a stove and some fry pans and whatnot, and a refrigerator, so it's a chance to actually make some decent food. And let's see, the Holiday Motor Lodge, like I say, they're not bad. It's decent hiker rate if you want to do the motel. And there's Walmart and Engels, I think, is there. There's no outfitters in Parisburg. If you really need something outfitter-wise, you have to get a ride over to Blacksburg. Now, if you was at Trail Days and you hiked out of Trail Days Sunday or Monday, you should be able to hike into the Captains. It's about, let me see, I think it's about 35 miles north of Parisburg. Let me make sure he's still in the guidebook. Yeah, the party is still there. It's the second biggest party, I think, on the trail. The Captain's been throwing it, I think, 11 or 12 years now. There's always plenty of food. Last year it was karaoke. The year before you had a live rock band there. There's a very small zip line that goes across the river, and you can get into his yard. And if it's not, it's always held the second weekend after Trail Days. If you're there at a different time, you're still allowed to camp in the yard. There's water, and around the back porch there's usually a refrigerator with some sodas in it for the hikers. Even if nobody's there, you're allowed to camp there. Just, the house is private, don't go in the house, but the back porch is usually okay for hikers to go in the back porch. And there's usually about 3 big dogs there. They do a lot of barking, but they're super friendly. Don't let them scare you. Next would be Catawba. Best thing about Catawba is probably the best hostel on the trail, the Four Pines Hostel. It is owned by Joe, and best way I can describe it, it's a 3-car garage turned into a hiker man cave with pool table, a lot of sofas and recliner chairs and stuff like that. I highly recommend the Four Pines Hostel. And they'll run you down to this little convenience store, which actually has a lot of good food. They have pizza and burgers and stuff. Hikers buy a lot of crap there. Now, Catawba, about 3 miles on down the road in the actual town of Catawba, is the Home Place restaurant, which I have actually never been to. All these years, I never hit it at the right time. They're only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's an all-you-can-eat kind of place, and it doesn't even look like a restaurant. It looks like an old-timey plantation house. But they don't mind dirty, smelly hikers coming there. They've been doing it for years. Hey, I was editing the video, and I realized I skipped right over Daleville. Daleville is a great place. It's just 4/10 off the trail is the Kroger Superstore, and it's one of the best resupplies on the trail in my opinion. There's restaurants, everything right there. When you come out on the trail, freaking Pizza Hut is right across the street. Most hikers will stay at the Howard Johnson's. The Howard Johnson's is very hiker friendly, and they always put all the hikers in the back last building, which is cool, and it's a good place to stop. Yeah, I was surprised I skipped over Daleville. Okay, the next town for me is Glasgow. Up until about 3 years ago, Glasgow was a place you just go in, you'd resupply at the dollar store, maybe eat at the restaurant and you'd hitch back out to the trail. But I think about 3 years ago they built a shelter in this little town park, and it's a great hiker shelter. It's a great place to rest up. Plenty of tent sites. There's even electricity there to charge your stuff up. There's a propane gas fired shower, and everything's right within reach. The Italian restaurant, great rates. Glasgow's a great town. Laundromat, dollar store, the library, Italian restaurant, mom and pop grocery store, everything you need there. Love Glasgow. Waynesboro, Virginia is normally my next stop, and Waynesboro is right at the southern end of Shenandoah before you enter Shenandoah. Waynesboro started letting us camp in their town park about, again, I think, well, actually they've been doing it for a while, but they've really fixed it up. And you can tent at the town park. There's no water there, but just like a block away is the YMCA. You can get water there in the back. You also can take a shower there, no charge. One of the best showers on the trail, in my opinion. And the library's right there. And then like Kroger's, supermarkets, maybe 10 blocks away. Waynesboro's a good place to rest up a day or two, and then you start into Shenandoah. And the church there has a hostel. I've stayed there once or twice. Yeah, the Grace Hiker Hostel. They have a hiker feed every, let's see if you're listing it. Yeah, every Thursday night they have a hiker feed there. I've caught it the last 2 years. It's a good place to stay, but they do have a curfew. I think you have to be back in by 9 or 10 o'clock, and then the door's locked. And you can also, another cool feature there is you can leave your pack there all day and walk around town, do what you want. It's nice to be able to go around town without hauling your pack with you everywhere you go and know that it's locked up secure. So that's a good deal there. There's a Walmart too on the other end of town. Waynesboro's a good hiker town. Shenandoah is about 100 miles, and I normally will hike the road in Shenandoah. I like it. It's a nice break from the uneven trail, walking on something smooth. And if you walk it in the evenings, night, and morning, there's almost no traffic. I like to pretend it's The Walking Dead and I'm the only human in the whole area. But I like Shenandoah. The trail, if you stick to the trail isn't bad. It's well graded, not too many big ups and downs, but it crosses Skyline Drive, I think it's 44 times in 100 miles. My first year after I crossed Skyline Drive about 5 times, I thought, well, I just walked down Skyline Drive. It's much nicer and a lot better views from Skyline Drive too. One thing I like too about Shenandoah, if by then you're the average hiker, you can do 15 miles, 17 miles in Shenandoah, no problem. You can eat town food every day. There's 3 waysides and then a camp store spaced about evenly through the 100 miles. Shenandoah, oh, and the other thing too, the aqua blazing. I've never done aqua blazing, and from most of the hikers I've talked to, it was not a good time. Aqua blazing is not easy. You're going down the Shenandoah River. Usually most people start at Waynesboro, and you can take it up to Harper's Ferry, or you can get out at Front Royal, which is the north end of Shenandoah. But it's not a river down through the woods. It's through a lot of residential areas, commercial areas. I heard a lot of bad stories last year. If you're going to aquablaze, what I would suggest doing is going with one of the companies that they know what they're doing. If you want to aquablaze, I think aquablaze is a legitimate through hike. You aquablaze or you hike Shenandoah, I think it both goes for a through hike. Front Royal, I usually just hitch in. It's about 5 miles, but it's usually pretty easy to get a ride in. I'll do my resupply. There's no real hostels in Front Royal, and there's motels, but you're at the northern end of Shenandoah National Park, and it's probably getting close to summertime. By then, I'm sure it's June, so you can imagine the rates. But what's really cool about Front Royal, go in, do your resupply, come back out, and I think it's about 4 miles to the Jim and Molly Denton shelter. If you watch my documentaries, you've seen it in both. It's one of the nicer shelters out there, and it's a great place to just rest up. There's a sun shower there, and a nice bench, and just a really nice shelter. One tip is, usually if a shelter is named after somebody, especially if it's a memorial shelter, they're usually pretty nice shelters. Sometimes I stop at the Bear's Den hostel. It's not a bad place. It's they got a, let me see, a $30 deal: ice cream, pizza, shower, laundry, and a bunk. But I always stop at the Blackburn Trail Center. That's about, I think it's about 10 miles before Harper's Ferry. Blackburn's owned by the, let me get this right, the PATC. I think that's Potomac Appalachian Trail Club. And it's a cool place. You can sleep on the wraparound porch, or there's a small hostel there that has, I think, 4 bunks, and there's tent sites. Next would be Harper's Ferry. Harper's Ferry. Well, that's where the ATC is, and that's where you get your picture taken, and they put it in the book, that year's Thru Hikers books. There's not a lot to do in Harper's Ferry. It's a very touristy area, a lot of Civil War stuff there. You hang out at the ATC and see a bunch of hikers. That's kind of cool. But there is, I went to Harper's Ferry International Hostel last year, and I was very impressed with it. It's a little ways out of town, but it was a hostel for not just us hiker trash, but for traveling people, and it was a very good deal. Pennsylvania is usually my next resupply stop. They have a Walmart there, and then once you hitch into the Walmart and you resupply, you're only about 2 miles from picking up the trail again. Jeez, I'm only about halfway through the book. I'm not going to tell you stuff all the way up into Maine. I'll stop at New Hampshire, Hanover, New Hampshire, because my information would be out of date. The last time I was in Maine was 2013, and I had to get off at Andover, Maine, and then the last time before that was 2010. So if you're looking for me to talk about that, it ain't going to happen. I'm going to take a break. Next place is Pine Grove Furnace. That's a state park, and there's a, well, the Appalachian Trail Museum's there. I've never been there. And I've never stayed at the Iron Master's Mansion Hostel either. I've never stayed there. Now this is where you do the half-gallon challenge. Check out my 2013 documentary. I covered the half-gallon challenge. You eat a half-gallon of ice cream as fast as you can at this little camp store. And after you do that, you get a little wooden spoon that says half-gallon challenge club or some crap like that. But it's something fun to do, and especially in the summertime. Ice cream's a big craving, I think, because you're craving calcium and protein and it's cold. Should be no problem doing a half-gallon of ice cream. Yeah, they still, Boiling Springs. As you're coming into Boiling Springs, there's a side trail. It's about half a mile back along the railroad tracks where you can legally camp. They made a camping place for us. Now, my information on this is 2 years out of date, because I didn't even go by. I went back there, I think, in 2013, and I never bothered with that place again. There was nothing there except for a porta-john. You're right next to railroad tracks. The ground wasn't even level, and no fire ring, no wood to burn. So it's, if you get stuck, yeah, stay there, but otherwise I don't recommend that campsite in Boiling Springs. And then the other problem with Boiling Springs, as you leave Boiling Springs, it's a, I believe it's 17-mile stretch of no legal places to camp. This has always been a bit of a problem. Boiling Springs, they have the Potomac the ATC, Mid-Atlantic Regional Office there. That's cool. You can sit there and hang out. And there's a grocery store. But other than that, Boiling Springs isn't really a hiker town in my opinion at all. Beautiful little town. So then you leave and you got 17 miles where you supposedly can't camp nowhere. The good thing is it's all level. It's like one of the few long level stretches on the trail, and you're going through hedgerows. By that I mean like corn may be growing right here, and here's the fence, and the trail's going right down the side of it. There's a lot of that. Hope you don't catch it when it's raining or been raining a lot. Me and Spider went through there last year, and it was just mud. It'll wear you down. Okay, Boiling Springs. Never been in the Carlisle. Never been in the Mechanicsburg. Well, next is the famous trail town, Duncannon, Pennsylvania. Home of the Doyle Hotel. It's, if you read any of the old AT books, the Doyle is well mentioned. It's been there for like 100 years. It's your room with a bare light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A couple of the drawers are missing out of the dresser. And the bathtub's down the hallway with the 100-year-old clawfoot bathtub. That's the Doyle. They should just rent out space on the balcony because that's where everybody hangs out, on the second floor balcony. And there's a grocery store there. Usually they'll give you a shuttle. The grocery store runs a shuttle because it's kind of a dangerous place to try to walk out to. There's about a 100-yard stretch there where there's no shoulder at all, and it's a very busy highway. But the grocery store will come pick you up at the Doyle, and when you get done shopping, they'll take you back. And of course, it's the home of Trail Angel Mary. She does shuttles and does things. If you get to know Mary, it's an experience. Hey, Mary. Okay, after leaving Duncannon, I should have these memorized by now. Lickdale. I've been in there a couple times. You'll be hiking on the trail and you'll cross a highway and there'll be a bridge and there'll be a sign, I think, saying 2 miles to Lickdale. It's all level and you can grab some quick resupply there, some town food, but it's nowhere to stay. So if you want to do a 4-mile round trip, if you're hungry enough, I've done it. Pine Grove. Port Clinton. Another one of my favorite trail towns. Let me just tell you this, when you come to that last downhill to come into Port Clinton, that has got to be one of the steepest downhills on the Appalachian Trail. But you'll find out for yourself. Port Clinton is really nothing. It's just a few houses and buildings along this very busy highway. But they have a town park, and they let us camp there with a big pavilion. There's no electricity, no Wi-Fi there, and no water. But it should be in your guidebook. There's a house on your way to the park that lets you fill up your containers from an outdoor spigot. And in the town itself, there's a very cool candy store that has almost every imaginable candy you can think of. There is a bar and hotel, which I've never went to. I don't go to bars on the trail. If I want to drink, I'll get a bottle and I'll drink at the campfire. Much cheaper that way, and I'd rather drink with hikers than locals. Nothing against locals, but in the past there has been some tension. They tend to get a little jealous when they find out that you're through hiking and you're living the life. And my advice: stay out of bars. Port Clinton. And they have a post office, and they have a really cool barber shop there. Very hiker friendly. It's the only place in Port Clinton that has Wi-Fi. Reasonable haircut. He'd give you coffee and cookies. Go to the barber shop right across from the post office. And then the other cool thing is, just a mile down this busy highway, which is basically level, is everything. Walmart, Cabela's, all the fast food. Anything you need is there. So Port Clinton's a very, very cool hiker town. Remember, if I'm not mentioning towns, it's just because I've never made the effort to go in there. Palmerton, Pennsylvania. Let me see if he's listed in the book this year. if you get the chance, check out Jason Soulflute Benward. He was in my documentary in 2013 and 2014. Very cool guy. He thru hiked in 13. They used to have the jailhouse hostel, but it closed down. So there's really nowhere to stay in Palmerton anymore, unless you want to spend $100, $150 for a motel room for the night. They get expensive up north, believe me. And Palmerton is Lehigh Gap. When you leave out of Palmerton, until you get up to the Whites and places in Maine, Lehigh Gap is one of the steepest uphill climbs you're going to do. It is seriously straight up and down. And there's a Blue Blaze bad weather trail too, and even it is pretty messed up. I've done them both and plan on doing a climb out of Lehigh Gap. Definitely. Don't look down. Ooh. Okay. Palmerton. Wind Gap, Pennsylvania is normally my next stop. It's just a mile off the trail. You just walk down the road. They've got everything you need there. Except there's nowhere to stay, no hostel or anything, but restaurants, supermarket, post office. And what I do is I'll take care of all my town stuff, charge things up, download things, all that kind of crap. And then when you get back on the trail, within a half mile of the trail, there's some great places, level spots right there to camp, you know. Just because a town doesn't have a hostel or anything like that, don't mean you can't camp close to town. Just get on the trail, and as long as it's not posted, you can camp where you want to camp. Oh, I believe next is Delaware Water Gap. Church of the Mountain Hostel in Delaware Water Gap is where everybody stays. They've had a hostel there, I think, for 30 years or more. And the hostel itself is a little small. The bunk room is crowded, in my opinion. But there's plenty of tent space, and there's even a shelter they built. And they have a hiker feed, too. I think it's every Wednesday. Well, it's not listed this year, so I don't know. They always had a hiker feed, I think it was every Wednesday or Thursday before, but maybe they have stopped that. And one of the really cool places, they have an Outfitters there too. Not too bad. They don't have a lot of stuff, but they're not bad. But the Village Farmer and Bakery, oh man, that place is cool. I think now the deal is a hot dog and a piece of pie for $2.50. I can remember when it was $1. But they'll have like $15 pies that are worth $15. They have ice cream. First time I ever had a strawberry shortcake ice cream sundae. Whew, man. But there's not a lot to do there, and there's no resupply in Delaware Water Gap. There's 2 little gas station convenience stores that have really nothing in them. It's a good place to send a mail drop, or just up the street from Delaware Water Gap is a big bus terminal. I guess people commute into New York City and other places, but you can take a bus into Stroudsburg to the Walmart. It's like a 30-minute ride, then you're dealing with Walmart, 30-minute back. So I would send a mail drop to Delaware Water Gap if I was you. Unionville, New York. Oh, it's cool. About 3-4 years ago, the mayor, he used to be the mayor in Unionville, he would invite hikers to his house. You could camp in the yard and dinner and all that cool stuff. But if the story's right, I heard he either got remarried or has a new girlfriend, and, well, the hiker thing stopped. So no more staying at the mayor's. They got a little mom and pop grocery store there. Again, prices are a little high, but you can resupply there. Vernon, New Jersey. Last year was the first time I went into Vernon. They got the usual resupply stuff there, but they got a great hostel. It's the St. Thomas Episcopal Church Hostel. Spider talked me into going, because it's about a 7-mile hitch in, but I don't know, I never usually have a problem hitching, and it was a very cool hostel. Plenty of room. They had a computer, a TV, great shower, great laundry. Highly recommend a hostel in Vernon, New Jersey. Warwick. Have I been into Warwick? Oh, I know Warwick. Bellevue Farms Creamery. When you get up north into Pennsylvania and up there, they call ice cream stores creameries. Oh man, the ice cream is so great. And this creamery is like 2/10 a mile off the trail. Bellevue Farms. Highly recommend Bellevue Farms Creamery. Okay, Greenwood Lake. Fort Montgomery and Bear Mountain. Here's a good bet to make. You say to a hiker down in Georgia, if you do every white blaze on the trail, I guarantee you will see a bear. Well, that's because when they let hikers go through the Bear Mountain Zoo for free, and there's the lowest elevation on the entire trail is the bear display. It's not really a cage, it's an open area for them, but you will see a bear. And for those of you who, animal rights people, I've seen hikers talking right in the registers after that, oh, the poor animals in that zoo. It's a rehabilitation zoo. It's not a normal type zoo. The animals are in there because they need to be rehabilitated or put down. So don't feel bad for the animals in the zoo. And then you come out and you can go into Fort Montgomery. There's a barbecue place, a gas station, convenience store, no grocery store or anything. Post office there if you want to do a resupply there. And then there's the Bear Mountain Bridge. I didn't realize until maybe, I think it's 4 years ago, I'm crossing that bridge, that somewhere along the lines I developed bridge phobia. Only bothers me on really big bridges, and this Bear Mountain Bridge is huge, and I mean it's way up there. Fortunately, I hitched a ride through there last year, but the year before I just had to walk like this and think about women. Bridgeophobia, man. Next will be coming up will be the Appalachian Trail Market. Love the Appalachian Trail Market. It's the trail goes right by it. You cross the parking lot, and for a convenience store, gas station thing, they have everything, subs and pizzas and all that good stuff. And then you go 6/10 of a mile and you go to Graymore Life Center. It's a monastery with monks and that kind of thing. And the monastery is kind of up high. Well, down low is the soccer field, and they let hikers stay at the soccer field. There's water source there, cold water shower. And there's electricity there too. The only thing is if it's the weekend and it's summertime, this has happened to me a couple times, they might book weddings or parties there, and like I was there this year and 500 people were coming in for a wedding, so I left early out of Graymore. But during the week it's very quiet there. Now you don't have to leave if that happens, but you know, I didn't want to deal with that. Love the Graymore Life Center. Alright, my next usual stop is Kent, Connecticut. These are like my major resupply stops. I might go somewhere, you know, just to grab something if I need it back out on the trail. When you get this far up north, the trail's pretty much urbanized. You're never far from highways and towns and whatnot. There's actually a section through there I call the Deli to Deli hike, where you can hike to like a deli almost every day for like 4 days in a row. But anyway, Kent, Connecticut, great trail town. They got a grocery store there. The prices are a little high, but you can fully resupply. There's an outfitter really in name only. They don't have much. Salisbury, Connecticut is the next stop for me. I remember I was there for like 3 days, camped right outside of town it was like raining for 2 days in a row. I just camped out there for 3 days. There's nowhere in town to stay, and the grocery store, again, is pricey, but you can fully resupply there. When you leave Salisbury, as you head up the AT, you'll go up off the road and the AT will bear to the right. If you bear to the left, there's actually a water source back there and a couple places where you can pitch a tent. As far as I know, it's legal. better than trying. I think there's a couple places in town that probably cost you $200 a night. Salisbury, what's next? Great Barrington. Let's see. That's really not a... Well, yeah, you can resupply there. It's not on my normal stop. I was in there this year to go to the library. It's a pretty big area. I haven't been to the Upper Goose Pond Cabin since 2013. That is a must stop. It's a, see, I forget who owns it. One of the trail clubs owns the place. Doesn't say here. But it has a caretaker. It's right on the pond, and it's a really cool place. Dalton, Massachusetts. That's the next town. Good resupply there. They have a big supermarket. Let me check and see. Dalton. Yeah, Dalton's kind of an in and out town. Get your resupply, and then as you're leaving Dalton, there's places that you can tent within a mile after you're leaving on the AT. Cheshire. No, I don't think I've been in there. Williamstown, Mass. Another place where you just go in, you resupply, and you get back out. It's not that far off the AT. You can either go to North Adams or Williamstown. I believe I usually go to Williamstown because they have the oh no, I take that back. Go to North Adams because the Price Chopper, that's a supermarket, isn't that far off the trail. Bennington, Vermont. That's usually the next place I'll go into, grab resupply, and come back out on the trail. There's nothing really there for hikers, just another town. Now, if you all got money, you can stay. There's always motels and stuff to stay at, but that's never in my budget, especially that time of the year. Manchester Center, that's a pretty cool place. Again, nowhere to camp in town, but you can get good resupply there, and they have an EMS, Eastern Mountain Sports, good for resupply on hiking gear and whatnot. Rutland, Vermont. Rutland. Really only one place to stay, and fortunately it's a good place, the Yellow Deli Cafe. They have a really nice cafe there, and they have a hostel upstairs. I think they were just doing donations last year, so I don't think it was a set price. I'll look here in the guidebook. You see Rutland, yeah, their donation, but it's a good place to stay. Rutland is the closest thing to a city, I think, that is on the Appalachian Trail. Well, you go in about 5 miles. There's a bus that stops at the Long Trail Inn, and it'll take you right into to Rutland, and you can catch it right back out the next day. Now, the cool feature is the hostel is, the bus station is right behind the hostel. And Hanover. Hanover is where we stop, because like I say, the rest of my information is too far out of date. Last time I was in Maine was 2013, and I had to stop in Andover because of my knee. And the last time before that was 2010. But I usually always make it up to Hanover. Hanover, one cool thing, when I get up there, it's like about 2 weeks before college is ready to start, and all the college kids are coming in. It's very active. There's a lot of things in town, like free slice of pizza or a bagel or this or that for hikers. But then again, too, the shelter is only, I think, about a mile and a half up, and that's close to town. Just Hanover. And the co-op for resupply, man, they have the best food, but the prices, I don't know how people live in those places. The prices are just crazy on food, insane. And this is the point too, when your money's running low, I guarantee that. Well, that's about it for that. Somebody asked me if I'd make a video about how to pack a backpack. Well, my gear is here or there, and I'm not quite ready in that stage yet to do that, but really, packing your pack is simple overall. First thing to go in your pack is always your sleeping bag. The sleeping bag should be in a compression, waterproof stuff sack, because the last thing you could ever get wet is your sleeping bag. That's your last resort. When it's 40-some degrees out, it's raining, you can get to the shelter, take everything off, get in that bag, and you're good to go. But that bag has got to stay dry. And then the next thing you want to put in your bag is your food bag. Your food bag will be the heaviest bag in your backpack, and that should be in the middle of your pack, up close to your back. That's where you want the most weight. And from there on out, it's just a matter of fitting things in. Try to use up all the space you can. Like your cook pot, for instance, there should be something inside that cook pot, not just empty space there. And you should consider, too, the things you're going to want to get to. Like my pack has none of that side pocket crap or extra zippers. It's a Thru hiking lightweight pack. So if I'm going to want to eat snacks while I'm hiking that day, that'll be towards the top of the pack. The outside of the pack would be your water bottles, your tent, because you don't want to be digging through your pack pulling your tent out when it's raining, your rain gear. These are all things you want immediate access to. But other than that, any certain way of packing your pack, just, get it in there. And once you've done it a few times, it'll be second nature. You'll pack it the same every time. Well, thanks for watching the videos. This is the last one. Thank God it's February, and I've only got maybe 3 more weeks before I can hit the trail. I hope to see y'all out there, man. I hope this is going to be a good year later.